So I'm basically ready to tell 2020, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Hi everybody, today I am basically doing the companion video to my Powersheets prep video that went up, well, I'm hoping on Saturday. I'm filming this on Saturday and it has been processing for like half the day, so who knows. But anyway, this video is going to be me talking about my 2021 goals, my thoughts for the next 90 days or so, because that's kind of how the Powersheets, which is what I'm using as a goal planner this year, kind of breaks them up, and I think it's actually a really great idea. Now, as promised in that aforementioned prep video, I also will be telling you about the highlighters that I have found that I'm using to match the colors from the Cultivate What Matters stickers that I'm using for color coding. Right up front though, I am not using mild liners because I just didn't grab them. I've been trying so many highlighters lately that there was a bunch in my drawer, and so there is a variety of types and I will have them all linked down below in case you decide you want some of them. But use what you've got, dude. Like if you've already got highlighters, just fucking use those. So my word of the year for 2020 is care. The reason I picked it is because when I was talking to myself, filming the video, thinking about the goals, going through the prep work, doing like my reflection, usually leading up to the prep work, I've already been thinking about things for a while. Like I don't go in balls deep with no preparation rubber. I usually do some thinking about it ahead of time. I knew going in that my word of the year and all of my goals, or at least a lot of my goals, were going to really center around this idea of caring for something, caring for myself, caring for my community, caring for my family, caring for my home, caring for my health, my mental wellness, all of those things. So that's what I went with, and I am really excited about it. Feels a little like short, but that's silly. Like the length of the word shouldn't really affect which one I pick, right? Even though I talked more about this in the prep work video, and I'll also be bringing it up when I do my bullet journal setup for 2021, I wanted to mention it because I'm going to keep coming back to this idea as I refer to my goals throughout the year. Now, you don't need a word of the year to tie all your goals together, and you don't need all your goals to tie into a word of the year. It can be helpful, especially if your year really centers around a theme. My theme is to care for. That's really broad. So it's pretty easy to tie all my goals into it. The other thing that kind of happened when I was going through my goals is that there were a couple of buckets that some of the goals fell into, which is generally the case. But in the past, like I might have had more than one business related goal because I work for myself. So that takes up a lot of my life. But generally speaking, when it came to like my health, as an example, I would only do one goal for my health overall. And this year, some of those have gotten a little bit more distilled into more specific long-term goals. How am I going to talk about this? The Cultivate What Matters system has you break your goals into year-long, like overarching, big picture situations. They're kind of general. They might be a little bit more specific, but they tend to be a little bit more general. And they're sort of like your guiding goal throughout the year. And then what they want you to do is break it into quarterly, more substantial goals. And then from those, use those to break into your action steps to get there. So top is the most like idea-based goal, and the farther down you go, the farther down you go in your hierarchy, the more concrete and like schedulable and just like check-offable they become. Those are not the best words for it, but I mean, shit, I'm not an expert at this. I just work here, right? I think it'll all be clear the more I get into it. I've been rambling too much. Let's go into goal number one. My goal number one is to grow my community both deeper and broader. I picked from the stickers the darker soft green, which I really love, and I found a Sharpie S-Note color that suits that. Why does this goal fit into all the things that are important? And one of the things the Powersheets also gives you is an opportunity to check back on your big picture, your yes and no list, like what you're saying yes to, what you're saying no to, as well as your word of the year. Do these things tie in? And I'm assuming that the more of them they tie into, the more like tied into your shit your goal is, right? It also has you question what kinds of resources you are going to use. For me, the biggest reason I want to do this is because building community is super important to me. It is what drives me. Making creative things, making money, all of those things are important in my life, but ultimately it's the community that makes me happy. I think that's why I love live streaming so much, because I get to really like be a part of it, and not only be a part of it, but observe what happens in the comments and in the chats during the live streams that might not have anything to do with what I'm talking about. So this goal very much aligns with my big picture, with my yes and no lists, and with my word of the year. by far. The resources I'm going to need for it are time, money, emotional capacity, and help from others. One thing I've learned is that I need some help, especially when it comes to things like the Discord or the Facebook group that's still closed right now. It'll be open eventually, just stay tuned. Now, when I was brainstorming different ideas to get me to that goal, there were a lot of things that were coming up. Doing regular giveaways, bringing back the book club, doing more challenges, maybe redoing how I do my challenges, holding workshops that I can invite people to, like online while we're in COVID and maybe in person if that ever happens again. Doing content planning every quarter so that I can really tie it all together. One way to grow the community, because remember, this is not just about deepening my relationship with the existing community, but bringing more people into it and having it be like a bigger sort of everything fits together as opposed to individual sort of pieces bopping about when I'm able to like give them time, which is kind of how it's felt this year. Another big thing that is on my list, and you'll see again when I do my 21 in 2021, which is the first time I've said that phrase after filming several videos this week where I haven't stumbled over it. So yay me. Some of these things are going to show up on that when I make that video, which will come out probably the day after you see this one. All of my things that I have on that list all tie into these goals. One that pops up on there is finding and sharing new to me creators, especially smaller creators, whether they're YouTubers or podcasts, Instagram people, Etsy shops, people who make things, make videos, make items, handmade, like make content, make music, make whatever. Especially here in the planner community. We have such a deep and vast community, and it's really easy for a handful of the loudest voices to rise to the top. And so I really want to make sure that not only am I broadening who I watch and not falling into the same ruts by seeking out newer, whether they're new to the game or just new to me, and smaller creators is going to help me stay like in touch with what the broader community is doing, but also it will help bring them up as well. I recognize that I have at least a small amount of voice in this community, and I would love to share that to others, especially people whose voices tend to get overlooked. But with all of that being said, I settled on creating and following through with an all-community plan. That's going to be my goal for the next 90 days, January through March, which isn't exactly 90 days, but you know what I mean. So on that, I have a list of action steps: set up quarterly book club, quarterly content calendar, all avenues and seeing how they fit together, refreshing my Patreon, you know, like revisiting my tiers and rewards. I haven't really done that in the entire many years I've had my Patreon. I've enjoyed doing it and I've added things, but I've never really like thought about it recently. It's just been one of those things. Tomorrow's Cindy's job. Doing my 2020 analytics so I can really see what the community wants and what brings in more people, which fits both sides of this goal. And then I always do things that are kind of content buckets, right? Like, is it a planner video? Is it a bullet journal video? Is it a whatever video? Like, I have my little content buckets. I want to refresh those with the analytics to respond to what the community is feeding off of. And defining where and how my community exists. This is where the Facebook group comes back into play. I really want to be purposeful in what avenues I have open and what resources I'm allocating to them and how it's going to develop community and serve as a resource and serve as being something valuable, whether you value it because it's fun or you value it because it helps you or you value it because it's distracting or whatever the case may be. I likely will brainstorm more of these, especially after the 2020 analytics, but it's going to be important for me to make sure to focus on building and following through on a like holistic community plan and not overwhelming myself with new ideas. Being able to take some of those ideas and set them to the side for the next 90 days is going to be something that is a struggle for me at the beginning. I can already tell. I know how I operate. I get excited about ideas. It's the follow through I struggle with. And so that's why I specifically put follow through on my power sheets. Goal number 2, and this one is also green. All of my business theme goals are green, but this is like the brighter, more in your face green. And I actually found a Sharpie S note for this one as well. This goal is to develop systems and sustainability in my business. When I was filling my power sheets out, one common theme throughout everything, especially when it comes to the work I do, is getting help. In order for me to get help, I have to be able to sustain it, aka pay for it, as well as make it so that when they're being paid, I am making the best use of the time I'm paying for. And so to do that, I need to develop systems. It has been difficult for me to do this for a couple of reasons. One, I hate letting go of things. I do not want to outsource because nobody can do it as well as I can, which I know is not the truth. Also, just in general, you can ask my husband this, I, generally speaking, am very resistant to asking for help, even when it is obvious that I need it. And if you can relate to that, let me know in the comments below. So that's my why. The systems in place will enable me to get help, and the sustainability will enable me to keep help. Thankfully, I have a family who really wants to help. They have been chomping at the bit. If they're going to put time into it, then if it's my kids, I need to pay them fairly because I want to do that. And if it's my husband, I need to make sure to bring in enough money so that anytime he takes off of work or takes away from work or takes away from his hobbies, that what's coming in is making it worth his while. Because I might be passionate about this, but he isn't necessarily. He might say something different. This goal aligns with my yes/no list and my word of the year. I didn't put my big picture because ultimately my big picture, when I think about what I want to look back on when I'm 80, is not really related to the nuts and bolts of my business. In the long run, it will help me to bring other things in my big picture forward. And I checked off all of the resources needed: time, money, physical space, expertise or advice, emotional capacity, and help from others, which I circled because obviously Lou wants in. He's not coming in. No, Lulu. It was easy to come up with some of these things because they've been on my mind for quite some time. The real question is implementing them. Things like creating systems in the shop so I can hand it to somebody and not have to do it myself. Creating content workflows so I can hand off the editing of my videos, which is one of those things that I'm pretty sure somebody can do better than me. But do they get my sense of humor? Like, there's a thing. Getting ahead enough on my things. One of the things that's kept me from getting like a podcast editor or a video editor is I'm usually like running at the last minute to get everything filmed, edited, and uploaded. I can't even say it. So in order for me to get someone to edit, I need to be like at least a week ahead of time to give someone time to actually do it. There's an idea about like figuring out what jobs actually exist within what I'm doing so that I can figure out what jobs to hand off to somebody like video editor or assistant. Like, what is it I need? Getting more active on Etsy, Skillshare, Patreon, areas with the exception of Patreon that for the most part this year have been really quiet because I've been feeling so awful. I have kidney disease, in case I didn't mention it. I don't think I did. I'm in end-stage renal disease. Not on dialysis yet. Fingers crossed. We'll get to that in a later goal. But yeah, new income streams, getting my finances in, like, my finances are in decent order, but in like working enough order so that, again, like I could have my husband help me with them and he's not going to look at them and be like, question mark? My mini goal for January and March actually encompasses some of these things, or at least planning and scheduling some of these things, which is to create a business plan. Now, I know with some business plans, the idea of one is to create like, how am I going to make money and blah, blah. And I want to do that, but I want it to be like a plan for my business. Here is how the content's going to work. Here is how the finances work. Here is how the things like the shop, like where products come out, work. I've got stuff on here like schedule Skillshare classes, open shop and onboard Jessie to help me with it, re-release and add new fuckery flowers, big editorial calendar picture, creating workflows, set revenue goals, monthly meetings with Jessie, and bring him into finances. Now, the revenue goals, you'd think I'd have that after working for myself for a few years, but no, guys. I have flown by the seat of my pants for as long as I've done this. And those pants, they're tired. Goal number 3 is also green. It's the other green, the softer side of Sears green, and it is also a Sharpie S note. And this is the third of my 3 business goals, but the one that I think I will both struggle with the most and have the most fun with. And that is to infuse all aspects of my business with creativity, because being creative goes to the heart of what I do. Now, when I set this goal, I specifically had in mind that it wasn't just going to be paint more, be more like find new creative forms of income or find new creative ways to make your video. I'm talking about like, how can I be creative with how I schedule things? How can I be creative in how I use my time? How can I be creative in how I approach a work week? Like, it doesn't just mean like artistic creativity, but like the way you think, being creative in how you problem solve. That's actually part of this. I said that the resources needed for this one were time, physical space, expertise or advice, and emotional capacity. And those last two are big ones, emotional capacity and expertise or advice. Those are things I'm going to really lean on when it comes to this particular goal. This one very much fits into my big picture and my word of the year. Not so much with my yes/no list, but as I said in that Power Sheets video, of all of the goal setting stuff, that's always the one that I'm just like, it feels cheeseball to me. Like cheeseball with slivered almonds on it. Like, how am I going to use Instagram? Scheduling days to dream and creative dates, brainstorms, things like that. What is it that I want to teach? Do I want to develop a curriculum on Skillshare rather than just random classes? To kind of go along with the business plan and the community plan for the whole year. This is also a theme with my 90-day goals for this one, and that is to create a full year creative structure, thinking in advance about my Skillshare curriculum. These are all things I probably should have done in the last 3 months, but you know what? I'm always late. I'm always late. My video is still processing. Planning out different video series that can happen throughout the year. Skillshare, Fuckery Flowers, brainstorm book club books, Instagram plans, schedule creative dates with myself, and start doing morning paragraph, which is my version of morning pages that I'm going to do in the Adam J. Kurtz planner. I'll talk about my planner lineup in a later video, but like 3 pages, it jacks my tendonitis up. Paragraph is much more doable for me in the mornings. As you can tell with my business goals, all 3 of them really kind of fit together in terms of what I want to do in the next 3 months. That's on purpose. I did that on purpose because I want the next 3 months to be about strategy and sustainability and figuring out so that when I go through the year, I don't get so overwhelmed trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing, but I have an idea of what I should be doing so that the limited energy that I have can be used to do the most fun videos possible for you guys, or the most realistic videos, or whatever the case may be. Goal number 4 is the pink flag. I found one of the iconic duo, I think they're called like duo tip markers or something. I did a review on them. I'll link it up above. It's the lovely pink color. I believe it comes from the pastel set. That pink, you can find that in almost any set of highlighters, so I would not worry if you don't have them. This goal is my kid related goal, and it's in the center of my goals. It's goal number 4 because, like I said in my Power Sheets video, they're pretty much the center of my universe, for good and for teenager. So my yearly goal for them is to empower my kids to become adults with a strong sense of self. It's been really hard being a parent this year. It's hard to be a parent anyway. It's especially hard to be a parent of teenagers when the problems become more complicated and everything just is smellier and moodier. Either they're crying or they're not talking to you, and there's just so much going on. And then add on a year of virtual school, not seeing their friends, and struggling really hard with online school. And I have 2 teenagers that are struggling. Struggle is the word. That's the word of the year for that. One of my kids is going to be 17 when I'm filming this. They're going to be 17 in 2 weeks, which means they're on the cusp of being an official adult. They wouldn't even say they feel like a grown-up. They're not in the genre of teenagers who think that they're adults when they're like, 12. I also have a 14, almost 15-year-old who just started high school in a virtual environment, so it's been hard for him. It's important to me that my kids learn to be functioning adults that can do adult things, but that also have confidence and know who they are, regardless of how good their grades are, regardless if they choose to go to college. I want them to know who they are and know that who they are is valuable. But I can't make them be that way. I can't make them into functioning adults. I want to empower them to, because it's up to them to do it. And so my goal is not that they will be, because I can't control that, but I can control the resources and the love that I give to them. All my resources are needed. All 6 of them. I've got them checked off. If this goes with my big picture, yes, no, word of the year. Like this goes to the heart of who I am as a parent and the person that my parents raised me to be. Yeah, I'm gonna cry. On this list, I don't have as many ideas. It's a little harder for me to sort of grasp this, but it sort of goes around adulting things, making sure that Kat gets a driver's license and they want to get a job outside of the house. Like, even though I want Kat to work for me, I recognize that it would be better for Kat to work outside of the house and be used to reporting into somebody who's not their mom, because I'm a pushover. Bank accounts, accountability, continuing to build and foster trust with them. But I want to focus in January through March on what a lot of us focus on in the new year, and that's building better habits. Both of my kids have lost a lot, maybe not lost, but at least put into hibernation a lot of the habits they had been building over the last few years when it comes to study habits and sleep habits and hygiene habits and eating habits, because of how COVID has really impacted them. And so restoring those, reinforcing those, and building new ones is what I want to focus on. I want them to be functional humans and then we can work on functional adulthood. Sleep routines, accountability at school. I want to make sure Kat's been seeing a great therapist, but we need to set the hours on a regular basis because it's really easy for Kat to lose track going back and forth between houses. Daily exercise. Jess has already started cooking with them weekly. I want to make this like an actual thing. And routines, weekly, morning, night, whatever needs to work for them. And I need to both help them, build them, and hold them accountable to them because they have thus far proven they are not great at holding themselves accountable. I'll let you make of that what you will. Goal number 5, it's the Peachy sticker. I use a Statler, it's the Peachy sticker, and I'm using a Statler Tripless Tech Surfer, the one that looks like a pen, not the one that looks like a little squat buddy. I wanted to use the skinnier highlighters for this. I don't remember why. I had a reason, but it was a long day. This one is my home goal. I usually have one of these and they've taken different forms, but have all basically been the same thing, and that's been to make my home better, like more comfortable, whatever. But this year it is to create a secure and life-giving home. The reason I put secure in there is I want to be better at both the maintenance of our house and like the, we have a hoarder house that we have been slowly but surely making less hoardery. But there are, like Jessie calls them, our Mickey Mouse projects. They're just all over the house, like unfinished, like our pass-through. We have not put our shower door in the bathroom despite moving in, almost 4 years ago. Making sure that the house is taken care of so it doesn't fall apart on us, but also making it more like comfortable, more of a home, getting art up on the walls, working on decluttering, working on cleaning to make sure it doesn't smell nasty. You know what I'm saying? The biggest reason this is on my list is because we're here all the time. All the time. So I want it to be great, and I want it to both keep us safe, which is the secure part, make us feel like we are really home, which is the life-giving part. Again, all 6 resources. This one is in my yes/no list and my word of the year, not really in my big picture, because when I'm 80, do I really care that much how clean my house is? No. But now I do, and so that still matters to me. I talked about a bunch of the ideas I had already, and what the first quarter is going to be focused on is establishing a regular cleaning plan. If you have followed me at all, you might know that I grew up the child of hoarders. They weren't the hoarders who collected one kind of thing like a bunch of magazines. They collected everything, garbage, and it was everywhere, and I have some podcast episodes talking about it. One of the things my sisters and I have talked about, and I've actually talked about some of you with, is feeling like somehow you missed the class on how to keep your house clean. I have no idea what things I'm supposed to be doing when. I have sort of half-assed my way through it my whole life, and the more shitty I feel in kidney failure, the harder it is. So getting on some sort of routine, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually, whatever, to do all of the things, especially the things I don't even think about, like cleaning the oven out. That's what I want to focus on the first 90 days. And this is actually a goal that I'm going to be working on, but I am going to enlist, whether they want to or not, the other 3 hooligans who live in this house, my husband and my 2 kids, because I can't do everything. And God damn it, we all 4 live here, so we all 4 should do it. And I'm not saying Jesse doesn't clean. He does, but he's going to clean more. He just doesn't know it yet. Shh. Some of the things on here involve researching the tasks and when they need to be done, scheduling some much needed maintenance. I really need to get our HVAC looked at, put it off because I didn't want to talk on the phone. I hate talking on the phone. A lot of people have recommended different apps to me to help with this, so I'm going to look into those. And also we want to get a Roomba. That's just its own thing. That might be a post-Christmas present for Jess and I. So a lot of those things are going to be showing up when I do my January Power Sheets situation. I'm hoping that Roombas go on sale at the beginning of the year when everybody has resolutions. Hopefully. Goal number 6. It's another iconic pen, the pale vermilion color, and this is like the kind of like corally situation. Vermilion, I guess, would be the color. This is one of my 2 health-related goals. This is the physical one. Support my physical health with restorative habits, because I want to feel as good as I can. Being in kidney failure really sucks ass. It hurts. I have gigantic cystic kidneys. I have polycystic kidney disease, which is genetic. My kidneys take up the majority of my torso. I am in pain all the time. It's worse some of the time, but it's never not some of the time. On top of that, I have the things that come along with kidney failure: nausea, brain fog, exhaustion. My hair is coming out. I'm yellow. That's why I like to wear makeup even when nobody's going to see me, because it makes me look a little less dead. It's really difficult to be me right now physically. It's really difficult. I can't bend over and tie my shoe without bursting a cyst, so I just don't wear shoes with laces anymore. What I have learned in the last year as my kidneys have started to fail during COVID is that small changes add up and they help me feel a little less shitty. I'm never going to not feel not shitty. At least not until I get a transplant or something. And a nephrectomy where they take my kidneys out. Just like scoop them out and drop kick them like the footballs they are. Habits, little habits are more helpful to me than big sweeping changes. Rather than try and focus on big sweeping changes, I am going to focus on small changes over time. I mean, that could apply to other people too, but especially in this situation, I can't start doing like an epic exercise program out of nowhere. It will hurt and I will not be able to do it. And then I'll hurt myself and then I won't do it anymore. And then I can't do anything. I started going to the gym 5 days a week last January. You know what happened? Within the first 3 weeks of it, I got my first gout attack. You know how hard it is to walk on a treadmill when you have gout? It sucks my ass. So I need to do small things so that not only will they help me over time, but if something happens and I get gout or something else happens, it won't be as big of a leap to restart or pick back up when I'm able to. This takes up all of my resources except for money, although it might take up money too. Who fucking knows? Like, I feel like all my goals take up all my resources, which is probably besides the point, but I'm just a glutton for goals. A glutton. And this one definitely lines up with my big picture, my all those things. So a lot of these have to do with like trying veggies because I'm picky, and morning and evening routines, and getting better sleep, which is my focus for the first 90 days. Because it is hard to sleep. I am a side sleeper. If I sleep on my back, my kidneys sit on my sciatic nerve and it's awful. I can't sleep on my stomach. It would be like sleeping on my stomach while pregnant. And I can't sleep on my left side because I have an AV fistula in my arm for when I need to go on dialysis. And if you sleep on that, it's bad news. So I can only sleep on one side. I'm still in pain when I'm sleeping. I have to get up all the time to go pee because of diuretics. It's really hard to sleep. So I want to focus on getting better sleep. I got a hatch. It's back there somewhere. I want to get a routine going with that works for me and doesn't annoy the shit out of my husband. I want to reduce my caffeine and sugar. I've already reduced it some, but I need to reduce it more. Finding an exercise routine that doesn't fuck me up would be nice. Sleep patterns, body pillows, tracking my sleep. There's a bunch of things. I want to focus on my sleep because if I can focus on my sleep, then other things will start to fall into place. My other health-related goal is goal number 7, to prioritize my mental health. I'm using the periwinkle colored sticker, and the highlighter is actually one of the passion markers from Passion Planner. I've discovered this past year that as I have been so consumed with my physical health, my mental health has taken a massive hit. And it's been hard to focus on that when I'm so focused on how miserable I am physically. So this year I want to make sure that I spend some time focusing on that. It should take up time, physical space, emotional capacity, and help from others. It aligns with all 3 of my thingies. And I have some ideas here, and some of these cross over with the physical health ones. Reading more, morning routine, gardening, cooking more with Jess, spending more time outside. I'm really interested in learning some more about nonviolent communication. My church has hosted workshops on that, and I have some church members who really love it, and it is fascinating to me. And it's something, especially for like conflict resolution with my teenagers, I would really like to have a stronger ground on that. Maybe try meditation. If you have any like maybe pregnancy yoga solutions, I need something that's not going to crush my midsection, because when I bend or twist wrong, I'm on my back for a week. I need like yoga for PKD patients. It doesn't exist. I'd like to redo my office space so that when I'm in it, I feel a little bit more focused. And I want to resume therapy. My therapist has been on maternity leave, so I need to get a new one, or a temporary one, and I've just put it off. This 90 days mini goal is to establish a new morning routine. I've had one, but then COVID kind of fucked it all up, and kidney failure fucked it all up, so I want to revisit it, and it'll kind of go with getting better sleep. I intended, sort of like the business goals, for those 2 goals to kind of work together in tandem, which is an approach I super recommend. That's where morning paragraph shows up. And that's also something that I realized could help with building community. Last year, about this time, we read Good Morning, Good Life by Amy Landino, which is a book about morning routines, and we talked a lot about it, and it's something, maybe a support group in my Discord, that could be fun. Let me know if that would interest you. Some sort of support group for people trying to not hate their mornings so much. And then my final goal, which goes back to the Sharpie S-Note highlighters, and it's the darker blue, like the blue sticker, is to cultivate big picture adulting practices. When I went into my power sheets this year, I knew this would be one of my goals, but I didn't know how it would look. I thought I might have a financial goal. I don't. It's actually wrapped up in this. Jess and I are adults. Feels weird to say that, but it's true. Now, to be fair, he's going to be 34 next week. But I am going to be 41 next year, and it feels like it's time to have my shit together. So that's what we're going to do. My why is I don't want to be surprised by avoidable bullshit. And as an adult, sometimes it feels like every crisis, there's crises that you couldn't predict, and then there's the ones where you're like, God damn it, I could have fucking done something about that before it happened. That's what I want to work on. Time, money, expertise or advice, emotional capacity, and help from others. And it aligns with my yes, no list and my word of the year. The one that really set me off was my uncle harassing my sisters and I to make sure we had wills taken care of. Because he's been going through probate with 3 different wills with family members of ours who died in the last couple of years. And he has been fucking dealing with it forever, and it's taken it so hard out of him, and he told us that he would kick our ass if we didn't write wills, so it occurred to me that I probably should do that. When my parents died, they didn't have wills, but they didn't have any property or any money. My grandparents paid for their burials or their cremations, and that was it. Like, estates, what the hell's that? You know? That's what my sisters and I put it, but we own a house. I mean, we're paying for it, but we own a house. It makes sense to have a sort of a will, you know. So getting a will, getting our advance directives done. I've had surgeries and I've had a non-notarized advance directive, and that's a little scary to me. Hiring an accountant, big thing we should do this year. Home maintenance, getting things serviced like our cars and our appliances. Researching what other adulting shit we're not noticing. We can't get life insurance. We have a little bit through Jesse's work because they don't know that we're both sickly ass motherfuckers. He's a type 1 diabetic. So I've read though that finding out how much it would cost for your preferred funeral expenses and putting that money aside so that your family doesn't get fucked when you die. I really want to be turned into a tree. I've heard that that's a thing. A friend of mine hosts death positive events here in Napa where she talks about like the idea of confronting death and instead of being scared of it, just embracing it as a natural part of living. And part of that has to do with talking about what's going to happen when you die. She did a bunch of research and a bunch of like fellowship with people who do green burials, like turning people into trees. I think that's rad. I hella want to be a tree. I've joked that I want to be a tree planted at my ex-husband's house so that I can always be there annoying him, but that's just a joke, I swear. Updating our files, and another big thing that might take up part of this year is planning out a renovation of our kids' bathroom. It was something we knew we were going to do after we bought the house, but we just didn't have the money for it, and we don't have the money for it now, but at least knowing what we want so that we can start aiming for it is important. My mini goal has to do with money. I told you money was going to come into this. Getting our finances in order. Our finances are actually not that bad. Jesse's very responsible and I've avoided them. So this year we want to, make sure we're paying our taxes, which is what we do, but like getting my taxes paid. What I want to set up is automatic savings. We've kind of been like sort of half-ass saving as we've gone along, but having like automatic deductions would be great. Researching accountants. We should be able to set aside funeral expenses in the next 3 months, assuming that we don't get like smacked hard in the face with taxes, and setting up a monthly budget meeting with Jesse, separate from the other meetings I was talking about. So yeah, I'm hoping to not have to worry about financial goals all year unless they're related to a specific project, whereas it's more of a project-based goal rather than a money goal. I want to take care of money up front and then just be done with that aspect of it and have it on autopilot. That would be so nice. That's like living the dream. So those are my goals. I'm really proud of myself this year for both. I think going through everything that's happened in 2020 has helped me recognize that it's a lot simpler is not the right word, but it can feel a lot more natural to work on different goals, to work on different areas you want to make progress on when they feed into each other, when it all is like I'm going to sound super hippie here, a holistic situation. And I feel like that's what I've done this year. I don't think they're all perfectly intertwined with each other, but at least in the little areas they live in, like I feel like this adulting one really actually suits the house one and actually the kids one too, because as I'm trying to learn some adulting shit, I'll take them along for the ride. Those ones kind of fit together. My health and my physical goals kind of touch on that, but also fit together really well. My business goals are like peas and carrots, whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean, Forrest Gump. I feel good about them. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What are you looking to do this next year? Is there something you want to tackle? Is there something you've been scared to tackle? For me, writing a will, the idea of like confronting my own death. Speaking of which, I did forget to mention, on that also is finding a living donor, which is terrifying for me. Let me know if there's something big you're trying to tackle this year, or even something small you're trying to tackle that just feels big to you because it scares you or because it's something you've been avoiding. Or is there something you're like delighted to be attacking this year? I've got both of those on my list. Delightful and terrifying in like a hot fudge sundae of goals. It's been a long day. I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. You should subscribe because tomorrow I'll be talking about my 21 in 2021. I'm going to film it with this shirt on and everything, which tie into these goals, and that's going to be fun. Come back for the fun, and also stay safe because I love you and I want to spend 2021 with you. Until next time, friends. Peace.